What is misogyny? Misogyny is hatred, dislike, mistrust, contempt, or prejudice against women, and it's been around for centuries. Misogyny is about control, including through intimidation and violence, and punishing women who challenge the patriarchy, which is male dominance in society. It rewards women and other people who comply with traditional gender stereotypes and expectations, and punishes those who don't. Although women have been rising up for centuries to challenge this social structure, there is often backlash and silencing to keep the status quo. Misogyny is still common today, and it can show up anywhere. In the home, at work, at school, at a party, online or in the media. It's embedded in institutions, healthcare, public services, in the law and politics, even simply going down the street. Misogyny makes our society less safe, fair and happy, and less free to be ourselves. Derby Speaks Up is empowering everyone to tackle misogyny. We are here to amplify women's voices, shine a light on the issues, and unite all genders in taking action for a safer, fairer, brighter future. Because fear is not freedom. Let's create change. Together with local charities, agencies, and action groups, we are building a collection of changemaker resources. Search our growing online toolkit of tips and materials to boost your efforts to make Derby a misogyny-free city. The website is for everyone who wants to educate themselves or take part in creating change. With topics from discussing consent with teenagers to tackling victim-blaming myths, the website includes specific tools for educators, parents and carers, young people, survivors, activists, community centres and faith groups, public services, employers, business venues, allies, and men who realise that they need to change their behaviour to be a role model to the next generation. How is misogyny showing up in Derby? We've all either experienced it ourselves, or we know a woman, girl, or non-binary person in Derby who has.
Sexist comments yelled by strangers.
Catcalled.
Followed.
Body space invaded.
Unwanted pics.
Sexual harassment. Groped.
Spite.
Flashed. Violated. Stalked. Abused.
Domestic violence.
Attacked.
Choked.
Silenced.
Reported a crime.
But never saw justice.
My teenage daughters are harassed on their way to school by adult men. As a teacher, I'm worried about the behaviour I'm seeing from boys towards the girls and towards the female staff.
Why is it normalised for men to lean out of vehicles and leer at teenage girls passing comments on their bodies?
Schools tell us that they're struggling to deal with the boys' behaviours influenced by Andrew Tate and what they've seen online.
Teenage boys are pressuring girls to send nudes. They risk being shamed either way, as frigid or with revenge porn.
They're coercing girls to perform demeaning sex acts at parties or as gang initiation.
Men contacting teenage girls on social media.
Men swapping nude pics of ex-girlfriends without consent, along with ratings and information on where these women live and work, trading them online like top trumps cards.
Dating expectations are distorted by pressure to copy things from extremely violent online porn. Even some men who see themselves as the nice guys act like they're entitled to do what they want with women's bodies.
A group of men shouted and grabbed a young woman walking by. When she dared to challenge them, the men shouted misogynist slurs. Then one man pushed her into the road and she narrowly avoided being hit by a bus.
A group of teenage boys shouted, "Show us your tits, bitch," on the bus. Nobody helped.
I don't feel safe in town anymore. Men drinking in the streets, football fans showing off to their mates by harassing women, even in the daytime, and no one stops them.
I'd like to go jogging again, but I got harassed in the park. It stops us from living our lives freely.
There is pressure on women to stay quiet about abusive men in local charities,
workplaces,
trade unions,
elected positions,
social justice movements,
on the music scene,
even places of worship.
protecting reputations. It seems PR and avoiding uncomfortable truths are prioritised over the violations of women.
When we march through Derby for women's rights, day or night, men shout insults at us.
They try to follow and intimidate us. We ask them if they want their mums, grands, sisters and daughters to be safe.
Their resentment of our protest on men's violence against women says it all. This backlash is the definition of misogyny.
The day-to-day fear, safety planning, being hyper-vigilant, another murdered woman on the news, the system letting us down.
Carrying our confided stories, bearing the pain, wiping each other's tears.
It's exhausting and it has to change.
What needs to change?
Nobody's born hating women.
Misogynist attitudes and behaviours are learned and can escalate, so we need to educate on respect and equality and prevent misogyny at every level along the scale.
Intervention is vital to address the harmful attitudes and lad banter that spurs some people towards more severe outlets of misogyny.
Everyone can play their part in challenging issues at the lower end of the scale to prevent escalation to violence.
Misogyny should be taken as seriously as other kinds of hate crime, violence and far-right extremism.
Local public services need a joined-up strategy co-created with survivors, academic experts and the third sector.
This must address the backlash factors and the inadequate and off-putting experiences of the legal justice system, which stop victims from speaking up and being believed in their families, communities, and in the courtroom.
We're tired of empty promises. We see local politicians posing for photo opportunities and token gestures, but a lack of real action.
I want funded, meaningful interventions and campaigns. I want local services to listen to women and support the grassroots groups taking action.
When we do turn to the police and other public services, we're not getting the consistent improvements and lessons learned that we've been promised.
Several women reported the same man at their various local police stations, but Derbyshire Police didn't join up the dots until local advocates raised it. It's a systemic problem that needs to change.
Some local authority leaders won't even use the word misogyny, even in the strategy to tackle violence against women in case it upsets men. You have to name the problem to have any hope of addressing the problem.
Derbyshire Police shocked me with an insensitive Clare's Law disclosure about my boyfriend's abusive past. I was alone and distraught. There was no help offered, and they told me I couldn't talk to anyone about it because of data protection. Surely a charity should always be there to support someone through this.
Sometimes the local police do a thorough job investigating, but the CPS, the Crown Prosecution Service, stop the case moving forward. The low conviction rates are appalling. The CPS needs to be more visible and open to scrutiny.
There aren't enough refuge spaces, as well as a housing shortage. Women are plucked out of their local support network and placed miles away, disrupting their lives and their children's education and friendships, and they're often forced to leave their pets behind. We deserve better.
Where possible, it should be the abuse of men who are moved out to a residential rehab programme. We need support for victims facing multiple barriers.
Cultural stigma around divorce.
Lack of accessible refuge accommodation for disabled women.
Honour-based abuse.
Fear of losing spousal visa status.
Transphobia.
No recourse to public funds.
Lack of services for non-binary victims.
Institutional racism.
Poverty keeps victims trapped in abusive homes.
There are different views on the best responses to misogynist abuse. Some want stronger sentencing, some want alternative transformative justice, but there is strong agreement on the importance of education and prevention.
Healthy relationship education is vital. It needs to happen consistently across every school and in adult education.
It starts at home. We need to change the ingrained habits like paying more pocket money to boys, expecting the girls to do more chores, serving men's meal first, giving sons more speaking time while interrupting their sisters, excusing inappropriate behaviour by saying boys will be boys. These things teach kids who is worth less.
We need NHS-funded therapy at the earliest sign. A culture where people are expected to do the work on their insecurities, toxic masculinity and trauma healing before they start dating.
Early intervention. Many cases escalate before agencies know about it. Then it's too little, too late. We should be able to refer men for community-based help and behavioural change programmes at the first signs of misogyny.
We put speeding drivers on courses to reduce risk, so why not for crimes against women? Run programmes to nurture boys' empathy and boost girls' empowerment.
Overall, we have to shift this issue from a private, hushed women's problem to a society-wide public health concern.
Shift the scrutiny from women's lives to men's misogynist behaviour.
Put posters about it in men's toilets, require men to do the work on healthy masculinity, expect men to call out their mates and show the boys the way.
Stop telling women to have less freedom. Start teaching men to be safe.
What can I do to make a difference?
Everyone can play their part in tackling the rise of misogyny.
There are lots of ways to be a change maker. Here are 5 examples.
1. Educate.
Get informed and share your knowledge with others. From putting up posters to planning a campaign, organising a film screening, school assembly, or hosting a podcast discussion.
Start a conversation.
In your family, workplace, school or university, place of worship or local community centre. If you don't feel ready to deliver sessions yourself, ask your teacher, employer or local organisations to put on events.
Every effort helps.
To raise awareness
Nurture healthy relationship behaviours.
and promote respect.
You can find free videos and learning materials on our Derby Speaks Up website to help you get started.
2. Listen.
A big barrier to tackling misogyny is the fear of speaking up about it. Many victims feel silenced,
dismissed,
Disbelieved
Judged.
and unsupported.
victim-blaming myths and interrogations do not help when someone is bravely telling you about the misogynist behaviour or abuse that they have endured.
Harmful, dismissive, or victim-blaming reactions may sound like this.
It's just a bit of banter.
Don't be dramatic.
It doesn't happen that much.
What did you expect dressed like that?
Silly you getting drunk.
He'd never do that.
You must have provoked him.
But your husband is so lovely.
He's been through a lot.
No one will believe you.
You must have sent mixed signals.
You should have ran away.
Why did you walk alone?
Why didn't you fight him off?
Did you scream for help?
Why haven't you told the police?
Why do you always pick the wrong guys?
Why didn't you speak up at the time?
Why didn't you leave him?
Be a safe, supportive place for victims to talk, even if the man involved is a relative, friend, or seems nice in public. Connect the victim or survivor to support groups.
Experiences of misogyny and all kinds of oppression are often dismissed. To be a change maker, remember, listen to those who live it. 3. Challenge. When you spot misogynist jokes, comments, or behaviour,
Never be a passive bystander.
Pretending you don't know what's going on is colluding with it.
you could ask a question like,
"What makes you say that?"
Or,
"Do you think you are setting a good example?"
in group situations, you could ask,
"Aren't we better than this?"
Express why it's not acceptable and what you want to encourage instead.
Think about safety and get help if it isn't safe for you to tackle it directly or alone. Many organisations have a way for you to report concerns.
You can also ask security officers, venue managers, or the police for help.
4. Disrupt. This is an intervention.
If you become aware of misogynist behaviour and abuse among people you know, you can arrange an intervention to help the person change their ways.
Similar to interventions on alcohol and substance misuse, you can plan support and peer accountability.
This approach is used around the world, recognizing that a community needs to take collective care and responsibility for what's been allowed to happen in that community.
Check out the Derby Speaks Up website for free toolkits, videos and recommended books on how to run a safe, effective intervention and to learn about transformative justice. This approach both supports survivors
and helps those causing harm or abuse to acknowledge what they've done and take positive steps to make a change.
5. Speak up.
Never ignore misogyny. Many cases of misogynist abuse, violence and murder could have been prevented if someone had spoken up sooner.
Don't wait for things to escalate.
From inappropriate comments at work or in the classroom,
to harassment in the street or on public transport.
From violations on a night out to controlling or violent partner abuse.
report the matter to someone.
Your teacher.
Doctor.
Employer. The business owner.
Or relevant regulator.
You can report crimes to the police or report anonymously via the charity Crime Stoppers.
In an emergency, dial 999.
To recap, 5 ways you can make a difference. Educate.
Listen.
Challenge.
Disrupt.
Speak up.
Together, we can do this.
Join us to make Derby a better place to live, love, work and play. Get inspired at www.derbyspeaksup.org.uk.